Ignition sequence start.
Roger.
Howdy, friends. Welcome, everyone. This is Brain Drain Unlimited Foundation, and we invite you to join our weekly live stream show called Meet Your New Neighbor. We are talking about immigration to the United States of America, and we introduce the world new immigrants, current immigrants who are already in the United States of America, and potential immigrants who have a dream of coming to America. So welcome to Monday. We are live every Monday. We are Brain Drain Foundation. My name is Konstantin. I'm the co-founder. Manos McLean, also the co-founder. Eric Liknes, one of the directors and the genius inside our team. And Tamara Bogatova, she is in Tashkent, Uzbekistan, along with me. This is where I am. And she is, I would say, our everything. Welcome, friends. We have a fantastic guest today, Nadia Ivanova. She is Russian. She is from Russia. She's living in the United States, in Austin, Texas. Very interesting person, a brilliant mind, a good heart. Welcome, everyone. Eric, would you please introduce the guest and, I pass the microphone to you.
Thanks, Konstantin. I will reiterate the welcome. Thanks for joining. This is our, I believe, 5th broadcast of Meet the Neighbors, Meet Your New Neighbors. So today's guest bridges 2 medical worlds. Nadia began her medical journey in Russia, and then she completed her medical degree there and moved to the U.S. to continue her training. She's now board certified genetic counselor, and she works at the intersection of research and patient care. Her work spans prenatal and cancer genetics with a study on NIPT awareness in Russia. She's published rare variant genetic discoveries, and she's also known for turning complex genetics into clear, compassionate guidance. So welcome, Nadia. Thank you for joining us this morning. How are you today?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here. I'm very excited to be here, and I'm doing very well. Thank you for this introduction.
Thanks. So let's start a little bit with your story. You started your medical education in Russia, in that system over there. Can you explain a little bit about your background and what brought you to medicine in Russia? What first got you into your field of study?
Sure. So I was very interested in biological sciences since high school, and I was enrolled in the specialized biology classes in my high school. So since that time, I got very interested in this all natural sciences, and we also had some field work in the lab. So I wanted to tie my life with this field, but at the same time, I wanted to work with people. I was not only like science person. I wanted to have an impact on human lives, and that's why I decided to go to med school. So I applied to Moscow State University, to their medical department, and I completed the 6-year program in that university and studied medicine.
So what was it like going to medical school in Russia? How is the system over there? Was it competitive? Was it a tough education?
Yes, I think as any medical program, it was pretty competitive. It was challenging, very intense education. So there is some difference with the United States. So in Russia, as in many countries in the world, we are going to med school right after the high school, and we are studying 6 years. The first 3 years is mostly core sciences, biology, chemistry, anatomy, physiology, and so on. And the last 3 years, it is mostly rotations in the hospitals, alongside with the lectures for various medicine topics. And of course, it is pretty intense. You need to do, we were also doing research at the same time. I was going to the lab to do my thesis work at the time where I really started to study genetics more deeply. So you need to do all different things at the same time. So of course it was very intense, but I was excited, I was very interested, and I learned a lot.
Yeah, that sounds very intense. Now that in the States, we take it quite differently. We have generally a 4-year undergraduate degree before you go to concentrate on any of your medical studies.
Yeah, in the US it is longer, and people have to finish their undergrad first, then go to medical school. I would say in the US it is longer and generally more expensive than in Russia. In Russia, there are much more ways to, there are more like governmental scholarship to study for free, or even if you study for 6 years, I think it is still getting cheaper than in the States, and in that way it may be more affordable to people.
If I may ask, how did the transition from Russia to the United States, how did that work out? Were your credits automatically transferred over? Did you get credit in the United States for the work you did in Russia?
Yeah, so I need to make a remark here. So I, in the United States, I completed master program in genetic counseling, which is not, I am currently not a physician per se. It is a little bit different healthcare specialty that is working specifically with the genetic testing and patient education. However, there is a way how Russian doctors can get accredited and apply for American residency after Russian medical school. So I took a little bit different way from more how people are doing it more commonly, more usually. So usually after 6 years in Russian medical school, people can complete the American exams, USMLE, and then they can apply for American residency and study there. And after residency, they can become physicians. And I have several friends who had gotten that pathway. I decided to focus more on genetics because it was my primary area of interest, and that's why I applied to master's program rather than the residency. And yes, so for the master's program as well, they required certain credits from certain classes, which I could present my classes from my medical school as part of the application process. And like my diploma, like I just needed to verify it so that American committees could comprehend the system and everything. But after this verification of my diploma, it was accepted by the local universities.
Okay. So the good news, you didn't have to start all over again.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. All right.
So what when you came over to the United States and started studying in the United States, what are the differences in the education system that you noticed? You've already touched on a couple things, that in Russia it was very intense, and in America it's very expensive.
Yeah, that's one of the differences for sure. And other differences, I would say, so in America, there is much less gap between the professors and students in terms of how they communicate. So in Russia, we have much more kind of hierarchical system between students and professors. So we have certain we cannot kind of maybe argue with them, have a heated discussion with them, or question whatever they're saying during the lectures. So it is mostly listening and kind of memorization of what we are told. And in America, there is more dialogue between students and professors. There is more communication and talk. And during the classes, it is very easy to ask any questions or to have any kind of discussions with professors. And between classes, it is very normal to have a daily talk about who did what over the weekend or whatever. And in Russia, I didn't see this level of communication.
That's interesting to hear of the hierarchy over there.
Yeah. And another thing is also, as I mentioned a little bit, that in Russia, we mostly focus on knowledge and memorization. In America, there is also a lot of focus on communication with patients, communication with each other, working in a team. So the classes are more interactive. There's a lot of teamwork during the classes, small projects. Again, a lot of material is learned in the discussion style of learning, and it was also very interesting for me, and I enjoyed it a lot.
But I can see how that could be shocking if someone is used to a different system.
Right.
And then they come to the United States and all of a sudden everybody can speak.
Yes. I needed some time to adjust to that. But yeah, after that, I usually appreciate in this system, and getting more involved, of course, helps to learn better and to be more involved in what you're studying. So overall, it is very helpful.
So lesson to our American audience: if you have a quiet immigrant, it may be just because they have a different system that they're used to.
Yes, exactly.
Nadia, I have a couple questions, if you don't mind, Eric.
Of course.
Nadia, how old were you when you came over to the USA?
That's so I was 20. Just I'm trying to calculate. It was.
Doesn't have to be exact. Just give me
I
a
was around
ballpark number.
25.
25. Okay, so still young and still. I'm asking because it's different when you come to America as an experienced older person, and when you come as just fresh out of school. Because I relate. I came over when I was young. Okay, another question. Why America? What made you? What motivated you to get up and actually go? I take it was not an easy process, because it never is unless you win a green card in a green card lottery. Even then, it takes you a few months and at quite a few steps, and not all people get green cards, right? But if you go to study, if you go to work, if you you unite with your family, it's a very complicated, costly process. So I guess my two questions are: why America, and what was your motivation behind going there?
Sure. So for me, it was family reasons. So my husband was studying at the time. He was not my husband at the time, but when we wanted to marry and start a life together, he was a PhD student in University of North Carolina, and his professional path, he's a hardware security engineer. So his professional path was very tied to America, since there's a lot of IT companies over here where he could really deepen his expertise, and a lot of research groups as well. So he started his professional pathway here, and I wanted to kind of be with him, live with him, and move next to him. So that was my main reason why I started my all way to America. And as you said, it was not an easy process. It was a very difficult process. But but we both understood that for our future and for our career path, it would be the best place. And so I started this all kind of, I wanted to firstly apply for masters from Russia and then come here. But when the war started in 2022, I decided to come here directly and continue this application process from here. But again, I already had husband here, so for me it was I didn't come completely alone, so it was great help for me to have some family here.
Excellent. Thank you.
So you didn't take any convincing. You came for love. No one
Yes,
had
you can say like that. Everyone has their own motivation, and for me, I am kind of, I want to have a good career and be very accomplished in my area of expertise, but career only for me personally is not enough motivation to move to another country and start the life over. And now, but yeah, for family, for love, as you said, it is another story. So I did it. I took this step. I'm not regretful, but of course, it was not easy way for sure.
It's definitely an adjustment, no matter where you're coming from or where you're moving. Anytime one moves to a different country, there's an adjustment. I don't care if you're speaking the language or not. There's adjustments to every part of life. So speaking of adjustments, what were some of the things looking back that you can say, oh, I'm really glad that I learned these things, that I studied this before I came to America? So what kind of things have helped you in America?
Oh, that's a great question. So of course, English, very obvious answer, but yes, I did learn English before coming to the US, and I learned a lot of medical terminology before I came to the US. So in the professional way, it was for me easier to adjust. And I see people around me who are not very good about language and English, and of course, it is much more difficult. So for sure, it was helpful. And to be honest with you, I don't think that I made any other specific. I think American culture is very widespread. Everyone knows about many parts of American culture from TV shows and everything else. So in that way, it is not a very unknown, in that sense, very unknown place. So yeah, and then when you are in place, when I already moved here, I think, of course, talking to other people who are here for a while and asking their experience is very helpful. I was also watching this kind of interviews with people who moved here for medical field, who were talking about their experience, how they moved here. So similar streams were also very helpful for me.
Are you active in any expat communities?
I'm only active in the local group for Austin Russian community. It is very active community. They have a lot of Telegram chats for all different topics, starting from kind of selling their old stuff to skiing, to board games, to job search, to any kind of daily advice and homemade food. So the Russian community is pretty big here. So they have a lot of network. So I'm just like reading all of these discussions and finding useful advice in these group chats.
Nice. So what are the biggest things you miss from back home?
Good public transportation system. This is the main thing that I think. Even I when I studied in master program, I lived in New York for 2 years, and even then I missed Russian subway in Moscow. Like the best subway that I have seen. And so they like basically convenient commute from any place to any other place. In Moscow, I think I remember like it always comes to mind whenever I need to go anywhere. Apart from that, I think certain foods, of course, I miss. And I cannot find all of the food here. And even if I can find it here, some like more often it is more expensive than the local food. So I'm not eating Russian food in America very often, but I miss the convenience and easiness of going and finding whatever food you want in in the market.
Yeah, probably in Texas, you won't find too many Russian markets. Austin's pretty international, but
Yeah,
um,
there is more here than I would say in North Carolina. I think in North Carolina maybe there wasn't, or maybe there was one Russian market. And I lived in North Carolina for 1 or 2 years. But in Austin, there is more international scene, more international foods. So yeah, it is nice to have that.
you make a
Speaking of
really
which,
go
Yeah.
ahead, Constant.
you said you lived in North Carolina and now you're in Texas. Can you please tell us of your journey through the USA and how you found different places where you started and where you at now? Perhaps compare where you like more. What do you think in general?
Sure. So I started in North Carolina because my husband was a student back then. So while he was finishing his education, we lived in North Carolina. And North Carolina is very different from Moscow, where I came, because it is much more small, quiet place, not a big city, a lot of nature. All houses are small. You cannot go anywhere without a car. So it was my first cultural shock. What happened in
Were
North
you were you in Raleigh?
Yes, in Raleigh. And so definitely my biggest adjustment, I think, happened there. But after, I think it took me about 1 year to get used to that. Then I fell in love with that place again, with the nature. And also, people are very kind in America in general, I think, and especially in the South. So all people were very welcoming, very kind. No one, like everyone understood me, which surprised me as well. All of that was great parts that I really loved. And then I got accepted in the master's program, and it was in New York. So we moved to New York for 2 years to complete my education. So we stayed there for 2 years. It was very tough as well, again,
Were
because
you at a city or because there's two New Yorks. There's
yeah,
New York and then there's New York.
it was New York suburbs, so it was close to New York City. It was in Yonkers, so it is just above
Okay.
New York City. So
It's like part of New York. It's New York
Yep.
City.
almost, yeah. And I traveled frequently to Manhattan for rotations, different hospitals, and so I experienced the New York City life, and it was difficult to get adjusted as well, because it is not a city for everyone. It is very big, it is very busy, very noisy, and I realized that it is not city for me because it is very intense, very intense.
Mhm.
And after living there, we moved to Austin again for my husband's job. And so we are just, trying to spend some time for his career development, some time for my career development. So we're just moving from place to place. And so now we are in Austin, and this is like still Southern culture, like in North Carolina. So again, people are very kind. Everyone is very welcoming. Our neighbors on the street also are like very open, talkative. We know, like I think we kind of met almost all our neighbors in this around us, and this is all good parts. And again, everywhere you need a car, but again, I experienced that in North Carolina as well. So it is not a surprise for me anymore. I kind of embrace this lifestyle, and but Texas, yeah. So what I love in Texas, it is the weather. It is very sunny, and it is really makes a difference on how I feel every day.
Yeah.
Being very sunny, very bright, and very green. And I would say Austin is also a special place in Texas. It is not specifically like the other Texas. So there's a lot of immigrants in the city. So I don't feel like I don't belong here because I see many immigrants or many people from all over the places here. So it really feels very comfortable.
Oh, bless your
Did
heart.
you get a car?
I don't own my own cars right now.
Okay.
I'm driving our own like common family car, but I want to
Okay.
get an EV when I have a chance.
But you drive,
Oh,
don't you?
Sorry.
so now you
You
drive.
drive, don't you?
Of course I'm driving. Yeah, of course I'm driving,
Yeah.
and I learned to drive long time ago because otherwise, yeah, without driving, it's just impossible to get anywhere.
Thank you. Thank
Is
you.
there-
I have one quick question. You said that Austin is an international city or town, city, I guess, and you feel welcome there and you don't feel out of sorts. Are there any other places out there in the USA where you felt like you're an immigrant, you don't belong, you don't fit in, you know? Did you feel uncomfortable anywhere?
So during my first 2 years in Raleigh, North Carolina, I think in there is less immigrant population, or it is not as maybe concentrated as here. So of course, at first I felt kind of a little bit weird, since I was the only. So in Raleigh, it is normal that you would be the only person from abroad if you go to any place, any office or any market or anywhere. And of course, everyone is speaking with the same accent in the same way. And everyone kind of
I noticed you didn't pick it up at all. You don't
well,
have it. Where's your Southern accent?
no. So when so when Konstantin mentioned that I moved to the United States when I was young, I was not that much young to be able to acquire the accents and everything else. I realized that people who come to America before they integrate, they are acquiring all of this very quickly, very fast. They are learning the accents. They can speak almost without any accent, and they know very well the local kind of culture and everything, I think from their university years. But for me, since I didn't have undergrad experience, I was already on a little bit different level, and I cannot pick it up as fast as younger people.
Your
Nadia,
English is
trust me.
yeah.
Trust
Yeah.
me, if you're under 49, you're still young to pick up. Look at me. I started learning English 3 years ago.
No, that's very
Now I speak with thick Southern accent.
3 years ago.
That was a
You
joke.
started learning English in your 20s.
I
That was a
will.
joke. Well, I couldn't speak a word of English before I was 20.
No, I've found that unless someone comes at an early age, you'll never drop the accent. But what I find is the
Yeah.
Southern
I
accent
just.
tends to rub off on people. Is when you
Yeah.
spend time
I'm
in the
here just for I think 2 or 3 months. So it's just maybe after 1 year, let's talk again, and maybe I will pick it up.
But
Well,
Austin is not as
let me
twangy.
contribute this. A famous athlete here in the United States, Joe Namath, spent 10 or 20 of his years in New York, and then I think in California, most of his adult life. He spent 4 years in Alabama, and prior to that, he was in Pennsylvania. And he picked up a very thick Southern accent that he carried through him for the rest of his life. So it only took him 4 years, and it never left him. I
Yeah.
did want to pass on a question that we have from the audience real quick. And it is, what were your biggest cultural shocks when you arrived in America? For example, the U.S. store restaurant tipping culture as a difference. Was that a
Yeah.
shock to you?
Tipping culture, yes, of course. I think it is a very notorious thing, especially in social media like TikTok and Instagram. Everyone is making jokes about that. Leaving tips everywhere. But I also see this from another side. So my husband, also me, worked as a delivery guys for a while. So being on the other end and receiving these tips from customers feels very nice. So knowing where it comes from, I think it is it is nice that people are leaving these tips pretty generously. And I have never seen any negative attitude towards me if I don't leave the tips and if I don't have money, or like, sometimes it happens. I have never seen any negative attitude, but most of the people are leaving tips very generously, and it is nice for the workers and for the people who are doing that. So knowing different sides of that and like just not judging definitely helps. Other culture shocks, I think the culture of small talk, it is also not very common in Russia, talking to people again in the supermarket, in everywhere on the street, about life. In the United States, it is happening everywhere. Maybe it is not happening as much in New York, but in South, of course, it is happening everywhere. And it is tough for me to learn, and I'm still learning. Still not coming to me naturally. I need to, a little bit force myself to maintain this light daily conversation with people. But again, I feel it is really nice culture, and it is very nice that people don't just look at each other in silence like in Russia, but they are actively welcoming each other and being nice to each other. So for me, it all seems great. I'm just trying to learn it.
It is a tough nuance. It's a different way of communicating. The joke I used to have with my German friends is, in America, we say, "How are you?" And we say, "I'm fine." In Germany, if you say, "How are you?" you get the person's life story and their whole resume back.
Exactly. Same in Russia, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it also took me a while to learn that when people ask, "How are you?" they don't
They
expect
don't really mean, "How are you?" Yeah.
it's just the same as hi, hello, and the same thing.
What about, I have to ask, peanut butter? Are you a fan?
No, I'm not a real American in that way. I don't like peanut butter. It's not my cup of tea, but I like almond butter. So I recently tried almond butter, the same thing just made from almonds, and I really like that. So it's like, I still like some kind of butter.
So
Alright.
what else from America would you take back, would you import if you moved somewhere else?
Emil.
Oh, that's a great question. So, as I mentioned, for me, the main thing is just people being friendly, being open, and being kind to each other. In To people like to strangers, to people who they don't know very well. So this is for me is the biggest advantage, or the biggest plus that I have seen. And So this is great. Anything else? Let me think about. I think in here, people are maybe, when we talk about, if we come back to medicine, people are talking so much more about like communication stuff, or equity stuff, and this kind of topics. In here, it is very common point of discussion, whereas in Russia, it is just not something that people think about. So this is very nice that people are, of course, there's different historical context and so on, but if we look just at the present time, the problems of inequality or racism or this kind of things, they exist everywhere. But in America, this is a topic that is openly discussed and implemented into the curriculum, into the classes. So just learning this, it is not only as formality. It is, people are learning this in school, talking about it, not being silent about it. So this is all also great things that I liked.
We hope so. We're fighting to keep
Yeah.
it that way. in our schools. At least my opinion is, I think some of those discussions are very important part of our history. But as for now, America is still very open, and most Americans on the street are open to discussion for any of those issues. Um, Now, what are you currently
Yeah.
back to your medicine, or did you have
Yes.
something, Menace?
Yeah. I wanted to try to get an understanding of what a genetic consultant is or does.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. It is not
And is
very,
it too late for me?
yeah, it is not well-known field, and many people don't know what it is. So basically, the genetic counselor is a specialist who is interpreting and ordering the genetic tests for people, and then focusing on explaining and education people about genetics, about the result of the genetic tests, implications on their health, and kind of recommendations about lifestyle and so on. So the people who might benefit from this, there are certain people who have any kind of family history of genetic diseases, children or adults with genetic disorders, people who have there are certain inherited cancer syndromes that people might benefit from the preventive testing and then doing certain measures to detect these cancers early. And there are other people who are uh, there's also a prenatal area where people who are pregnant or want to have a family but have a high risk of genetic disorders, like basically looking at different options and helping them to decide what path will be the best for them in their situation. So there are certain areas where this specialist would be really helpful. And we also help people to understand the implications of their, if the genetic testing comes positive, what does it mean? There are many nuances, there are many consequences for the health of their family members, and so on. So we are going through all of that with patients and kind of educating them about that.
So it's
How
a
does
lot
this?
of
Sleep well.
Yeah. How does it work? I would come to see you and what, blood test, X-rays? I don't know.
So the genetic testing is done through the blood typically.
Okay.
It's a blood test. Sometimes it is saliva as well. So people can order this kit, and this kit can arrive at their home, and they can just submit their saliva and send it back, or in the hospital to give a blood. And there are certain tests that are recommended to everyone, like carrier screening for people who want to have children, to know whether they are carriers for certain diseases, or for pregnant people, NIPT prenatal testing to see any kind of chromosomal abnormalities. And again, there are other tests that are recommended for people who already have family history, have some relatives with certain cancers or disorders, genetic disorders. Yeah.
Oh,
so it's
very
a
good.
I would assume it's a lot of cutting edge science, and you're doing a lot of reading to stay on top of the latest developments. But I also would assume there's a lot of ethics involved.
Sure. Since it is counseling in the name, involves a lot of ethics, especially because now people still, people who are working with genetics, they don't want to remind people about all the practice of eugenics that existed a while ago. So that's why this topic might be a little bit edgy. But now we're focusing on the patient autonomy and on providing the patients options that the people can decide what would be best for themselves. We're not trying to fixing anything. We're not trying to, eliminate all genetic problems from the world. We're trying to kind of understand, help people to understand what is happening, why it is happening to them, and to help them to adapt to their situation, to their life situation,
All right.
without forcing anything.
Has there been any surprises yet? I mean, I see a lot of these genetic tests that people will take. What is it, 23andMe or something like that? and they find out that they were Scandinavian when they thought they were Italian, that type of stuff, or that really isn't my mom and dad. Has there been anything like that in your experience?
That's a great question. In my experience, in my personal experience, not yet. I have heard
Okay.
about stories where during the testing, we can find that the patients, like let's say parents, are not their biological parents, and it is like ethical dilemma which needs to be resolved somehow. But for this test like 23andMe, I would say that there are two different tests, right? There's test for ancestry, which is not affecting people's health generally, but there are tests for health conditions such as cancers. So when people take 23andMe, this generally returns to them not only their ancestry results, but also their maybe risks, again, for certain cancer genes like BRCA gene, for example. And what people should keep in mind is that for all of these cancer genes or health-related genes, these tests are not very reliable, and they have a lot of like false positive or false negative results in that. So if something comes up related to health on this doing like ordering at home tests, it might be not the truth, and it should be kind of confirmed by the healthcare specialist. Sometimes people get scared when they get these results, but it is not always the reality.
That would be my
Yeah.
concern. I would be like, I don't want to know my chances.
Yeah, that's another thing. So it's completely fine, and this is also what we're doing. If people don't want to know, that they're right, and it is completely legit concern.
Yeah, for me, it's the exact opposite. I'm kind of curious as to why my siblings. I come from a large family, and as far as I know, that there's been cancers, thyroid disorders, high blood pressure, and all this whatever. But for some odd reason, it has missed me, and you know, I know I look like them, so there's no question that they're actually my siblings. But it was just always kind of curious as to why the genetic master decided not to target me.
Yeah.
So put it
Well,
that way.
Manis, I just had a lunch with a 99-year-old client, and one of her remarks to me was, I've never had anything removed from my body, ever. I
Yeah.
haven't had a tooth out. I haven't had anything. I don't know. My doctor says I'm going to live to forever. So, I'd like to find out her genetics because.
Yeah.
Thank God her last name isn't Putin.
Well, that was my next thought. For something like this, I'm certainly glad that Nadia, you're doing your work for a non-authoritarian regime.
Yes, that's a good that's a good note. It is also true that in Russia, again, this may be again done a little bit differently, a little bit more authoritative. So I'm very happy to learn the local practices from America and all of this ethics and ethics kind of concepts and everything like that, rather than being again taught like this is the only way how it should be done and all people should follow these guidelines this way, rather than being responsible for their own health and their body.
That's a good point. Hey, can I interrupt you a little bit? I'd like to make an announcement. No, it's not advertising. It's not a collaboration or anything, not a product. Not a product informational message. It's actually, we would like to try something different today, something new. Yeah, something new. There is an audience. There are 11 people watching us live. The number goes from 9 to 14, and we figured it would be interesting to take calls from the audience. So, Manus, any chance you can type a message on your side with a telephone number and put it on the screen. So if you want to ask Nadia your question, go ahead and do that. We haven't done that before. I've never done it on my YouTube channel inside Russia. Well, I'm not in the USA, but since we have Manus and Eric in America, it's a bit easier. So we have a telephone for Brain Drain Unlimited Foundation. So if you want, you can call and ask your question. We'll put you on a speakerphone. See how it works. It's an experiment. Now let's check it out.
In the meantime, Nadia, what else are you fascinated with these days? What are you doing in your spare time outside of medicine?
So outside of medicine, I was recently preoccupied with moving to another city, settling down, then hosting my family and showing them around. So as my mother, my brother, they visited me in the summer. Also, my sister also came to visit. So I was needed to make a program. And now I am having, so since we moved to a new house, now we have new hobbies like gardening and stuff that we need to do. I also like oil painting. And so since I have now a little bit time, I'm also trying to pick up on that hobby as well. So kind of, I also like knitting. So all of the kind of crafty stuff that's
Nice.
I do to relax.
Getting ready for Halloween.
Yeah, Halloween is another American tradition that is for me still doesn't seem very familiar. And again, in Russia, we don't celebrate Halloween. Typically, no one celebrates Halloween. Maybe some young people celebrated, but I have never celebrated Halloween in Russia. Maybe I watched a couple of horror movies, but that's it. So so that's why in America celebrating Halloween for me still seems interesting. So for this year, I don't know how I'm gonna celebrate it. I have never decorated the house for Halloween, and so we will see. So the people who owned our house in Austin, they were DIY Halloween makers, and they had a YouTube channel where they had like over 1 million subscribers, where they teach how to do Halloween stuff.
Oh boy.
And the house was famous on the street because of the Halloween decorations, and people from all over the neighborhood, they were coming to see Halloween stuff. So I know that I cannot like
outdo them. Yeah.
level, but I probably have to do something. So I'm excited for that. Yeah, it will be
I can
new.
add to that. Look, there is an evolution of every immigrant. Okay, every immigrant goes through stages in America, and first you get culture shock for first 6 months, then you feel terrible, and then after 6 months you start getting better and better, and then you're homesick on year 2, and on year 5 you catch yourself, you speak with very little accent and you speak fluently, you understand everything they actually say around you. On the year 6 you stop being homesick ever. On year 9 you get into this Halloween thing, and on year 11 every on 4th of July you get a few beers, American flag, drive to the beach and so forth. So you're just in the beginning of this way, you'll get there.
Yes.
Halloween awaits you somewhere in the future.
Yeah. Or I have to walk more than 100 meters. Where are the car keys?
Yeah, I'm on that stage. I already cannot walk long distances, and I do my sport only in the gym. So this is where I'm at.
You are becoming American.
That's true.
I have one big question for you. Do you like it there?
In America?
Yes.
Yes, I like it here. I think that it was also obvious from our previous talk that I like it here. And I would say that after settling down, after getting used to the local culture and everything, my understanding of America that I had in Russia was pretty much different than now I have my understanding today. But my understanding today is much more positive than I had in Russia, because in Russia you're thinking with stereotypes, and like people, they don't work, they are all like, everyone is eating junk food, and so on and so on and so on.
Of
But
course, all Satanists, they
Yeah.
want to steal Russia's sovereignty. Come
but now
on, they
living
want bad for Russia.
yeah. But living in here, I enjoyed here. And again, I like the local culture. I like, as I already said, that how people talk to each other, how they communicate with each other. And I like that if you work hard, you can be rewarded for your hard work. And if you have a goal, you have ambition, you have a real chance to achieve your goal and your dream. And so far, I'm very happy with
So you're
my.
basically fresh off the boat. You spent a few years in the USA. But you're young. You're still in the beginning of this very long journey.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the American dream is still alive?
I don't believe in American dream as people talk about it, because I have never thought about American dream in that way. I think that American dream is kind of idealized thought that people think about, and for some people it may be a motivation to work hard to achieve something. But for me, I didn't want to dream of something that might not come real. So I think that American dream is not real, because for every person it will be different, and going after certain one idea might be frustrating, and maybe it is not maybe something that people like that you want. So I think everyone else should have their own dream, and if their dream can be done and realized in America, they need to follow it.
Well, let me explain my take on American dream. It's everyone, no matter where he or she comes from, which background, which the elites or the commoners, has an equal opportunity with the others. Everyone is free. Everyone is entitled to have their own opinion and not going to be ridiculed or prosecuted for that. And everyone, is entitled to happiness. That's pretty much my understanding what American dream is. You think that is still the case or not?
Again, I cannot speak for everyone. For me,
Speak for yourself.
Yes, for me, I would say that this is all. Everything that you said is pretty much true. I feel that. I feel like there are great opportunities for immigrants here, for people who want to achieve something. They can do it here. And as you said, they can speak up. So for that, yes, I would say that it is real.
Thank you.
All right. I have a question from the audience again. It's a rather lengthy one, but let's give it a shot. Kier writes, I have a friend who immigrated to the U.S. in the 1970s. That's over 50 years ago. But he is skeptical about how much Russian graduates are valued in the U.S. He told me that a Soviet graduate is nothing more than a technician in the U.S. What was the situation? This was about the situation in the 1970s. Could you tell us about the situation today? Can Russian graduates compete with their American counterparts?
So the Russian graduates have their own advantages, right? So in Russia, I think if you compare undergraduate degree in Russia, I think people are studying harder. They're studying more. So in that way, I think Russian people are very hardworking. so they can bring a lot of value. Yes, I think so. American graduates have their own advantages, like networking. Maybe their school is well known, and other, like how they can present themselves. So those are qualities that are, I think, more better developed in American graduates. So, but from my experience, Russian graduates can compete very well if they learn how to present themselves, if they learn how to speak, how to show their achievements. Because Russian graduates very often, we cannot talk very openly about our achievements, about what we did well. In Russian culture, it is considered as being arrogant, selfish. So, but in America, it is what should be done. You need to show yourself so that people can understand who you are and what you are doing. So, if people learn to do that, they can be very successful.
That's a great piece of advice that I just heard.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's something that we've experienced through our process of helping people with their immigration. And I think you might be familiar with the terms extraordinary and exceptional abilities. And it means something a little bit different for our Russian and Ukrainian. And they don't necessarily want to be boastful. They don't want to be arrogant, I think is the term that you used. And I often have to explain it to them. What would your grandmother say about you?
Mhm.
Because I know the grandmother would say that you could, leap tall buildings and and all that other stuff. But it's kind of like, what would your grandmother say? And then that way I can get them to open up about certain achievements that they've earned. And
Hey,
that's how
I have
we
a
do it.
story. I have a story. Well, not personal, not my personal story, but the story of one of the applicants. There is a guy who is a brilliant. He's he's part of Tashkent Breakfast Club, and he's working with us at Brain Drain Unlimited Foundation. And then we were in a meeting with attorneys and trying to figure out what extraordinary abilities that person has. And he's a engineer, designer, and he designed part of Pulkovo Airport in St. Petersburg. And
Yes.
he doesn't talk about that. And then, have you done anything extraordinary? Oh, not really. I'm just an engineer. All right. So let's look at it a different way. Have you completed any projects? Well, of course. How many? I don't know, like a few hundred, few dozens, something like that. Okay. Uh, any famous facilities? Well, as airport. Wait a second. So you designed part of the airport? Yes, but it's not a big deal. It's just a job. Everyone was like, "Oh my gosh!" So I think Manus, you were present, and Eric was
Yes.
present there. Yeah.
I
So
think our audience was present too. He was their first guy. So
yes, yeah. Well, I don't want to reveal his name, but
they
it
know it
was funny.
already. Yes.
That was funny.
Yeah.
And I'm also immigrant in the past, but immigrant. And let me tell you something. I think that I disagree with a statement. Well, not a statement, but the question that Russians who come to the USA are not that qualified. Okay, so my personal story is a little different. I came to the USA and I did fantastically. On my first year of the job, I was made the manager of a place where I was starting out as just a street sweeper, and I did fairly well in the USA. And I want to tell you something: Russians have advantage over those who are born in the United States in terms of um, most of immigrants from other countries, not just Russians. I think it just concerns most immigrants. What you see is the cream of the crop, people who are educated, who are, for the most part, who are courageous, who are willing to change their lives completely, who are full of energy, who are motivated. Okay, and that's quite a explosive mix of qualities. Okay, so and when they get to the United States and they stand on this very fruitful soil, okay, where everyone is equal and there are opportunities for everyone, they usually reach success, at least a lot of them. So that's my take on immigrants from Russia, and not just from Russia, from other countries as well.
I would agree, and I think that's a lot of the reason why some people find immigrants threatening, is because they're the ones coming and working very hard and willing to put in the work and have an open mind. But to summarize, I heard some good things. I heard learn English, get a driver's license, don't be afraid to tell about your accomplishments.
Like peanut butter.
Yeah.
Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Yeah. Did we have anything else in the chat? We're coming up on our hour already here. So
it's been 1 hour. It's been fantastic. But you know what? I second English. Anyone who plans to live in the USA, to immigrate to the USA, English is a must. There's no way around it, you know. The better you speak English, the easier it's going to be for you. And if you come to the United States, well, you plan to go to the USA without intention of learning how to speak English and just to get by speaking your language, don't go. That's not worth it, you know.
no, America is it's very hard. There are some countries you can go to and you can live in an expat community and you can get by just fine and you cannot speak the local language. But it's pretty hard in America to do that.
You're not going to be successful. You're going to be limited to a prison cell of the community, you know, to certain jobs, to certain people, to that's not what America is about. Learn English and go and conquer, you know, everything, you know, business, make a career, get education. That's the fun of it.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Any final comments, Nadia?
No, I agree with everyone what has just been said. And my last piece of advice would be just also not to be able to reach out to other people who have been in the same situation. I think people are very happy to help others with something that they have already, you know, completed. So it is also a great way to learn more about the country and how to do things, just to reach out to as many people as you can, because I was hesitant to do this at first. I thought that people will be uncomfortable. I don't want to burn other people, but actually people are very happy to help. So that's my last piece of advice.
Yeah.
Well, and we thank you for your time, for taking time out of your day to help others that might watch this message, and to help us spread the message as Brain Drain.
Yeah,
to help bring more.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nadia.
Very much,
It was a great.
Tamara, you know, fantastic for you to join us, and thank you for helping organize. Eric, Manos, Nadia, great, big thanks to you for coming and speaking and letting people know what immigrating to America is like. Fantastic. Let's do that again next Monday.
Tune in every Monday at noon. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this and maybe even learned something new. If you did, don't just vanish into the algorithm. Hit like, subscribe, and follow us on social. It's the easiest way to support our work and make sure you never miss what's next. Want to stay in the loop without relying on big tech's mood swings? Sign up for our monthly newsletter. And if you've got the means, donations of any size keep our programs running strong. As a 501c3, your gift is tax deductible where the law allows. Together, we can turn Brain Drain into America's next big breakthrough.